MQB-A0IN, Vision IN, India 2.0, TSI Power. These are words that have commonly become associated with anyone talking about the Skoda brand these days. Put them all together and what do you get? This, the Skoda Kushaq. It's a D-segment SUV and is a Czech automaker's first vehicle under its revamped strategy for India. Now, before the launch, we had a chance to drive the 1.5 with the DSG gearbox. And what we have today is the middle order batsman of the Skoda Kushaq range, the 1-litre TSI with a 6-speed manual gearbox. What's it like to drive and use? Let's find out. The engine in question is Skoda's 1-litre TSI petrol engine that produces 114 bhp and 178 Nm of torque. This is the same engine you get in the Rapid but in a slightly higher state of tune. For a 3-cylinder engine, it's surprisingly refined, and at idle you just feel some mild vibration in the steering and the gear lever. Once you go past the 1800 RPM mark, the turbo spools up and there's a nice punch that you can ride all the way into 3-digit speeds. There's a very strong mid-range, and thanks to tall gearing of the 6-speed manual, you only ever need to go into 6th gear if you're out on the highway cruising at 3-digit speeds. Normally, one would associate a very tight or late bite point for the clutch in reference to 3-pot engines, but it's actually quite easy to use here with an easy to find bite point. While this may not be something significant, it adds a positive to the list of driving conveniences that the Kushaq offers, and more so when dealing with bumper-to-bumper traffic in city conditions. While the clutch is easy to use, the gearbox isn't slick and requires a bit of effort for you to shift from gear to gear, something very uncharacteristic from the Skoda stable. We tested this 1-litre manual Kushaq and it did the all-important 0 to 100 kmph sprint in 11.31 seconds, while in terms of drivability, the 20 to 80 kmph roll-on time in 3rd gear was achieved in 10.66 seconds, while the 40 to 100 kmph roll-on was achieved in 12.86 seconds. Here are the complete test figures for this engine. Now, if there's one thing that Skoda cars offer, it's a good driving experience, both in terms of ride and handling. This Kushaq gets McPherson struts in front and a twist beam axle setup at the rear. You get disc brakes in front and drums at the rear, and 16-inch wheels are standard across the range, while this top-of-the-line style trim gets 17-inch wheels with slightly smaller rubber for better ride quality. The ride has just that little hint of reassuring firmness ever present in Skoda cars, and it's reasonably pliant, absorbing most of the bumps and potholes in its path, and for the most will keep the occupants from being displaced or thrown around if you miss something on the road. With a ground clearance of 188 mm, going over the largest of bumps, potholes and even speed breakers is not an issue at all. And this, combined with the right characteristics, will ensure that you don't lose progress even on the most rutted of pathways that our road systems throws up. Out on the open road, the steering weighs up nicely as you go faster, encouraging you to drive in an enthusiastic manner if the situation were to permit. Consequently, in the city, the steering is light and easy to use, making it not much of a task to maneuver in between traffic. The steering goes 3 turns lock to lock, which may seem like a lot, but because it's light and easy to use, you don't feel the weight, making things like even parallel parking quite easy. Now, our editor Vikrant has done a detailed look at the interiors of the Skoda Kushaq, and that too in this very same top-of-the-line style trim that we are driving today. If you want to see that, there's a link in the description below. What we will do here then are highlights of the cabin. Now, given that the car is aimed at the self-driven market, Skoda has put its best foot forward in terms of the front of the cabin. You get a mixed bag of plastics with some nice glossy ones like this, which, while looking premium, will become dust and fingerprint magnets in the long run. What we also found odd is the quality of some of the plastics in the doors as well as the dashboard in major non-contact areas, which feel like a whole segment down and looks odd, especially when you consider the car when looking against the competition. Along with the mixed bag of plastics, another familiar element that we found are things like the stalks, the window and mirror controls, as well as the door handles. Anyone familiar with parts from the Skoda VW catalogue will notice that these come from Skoda and VW vehicles a whole segment down, which again feels odd considering the competition. Now, two of the elements that we really liked in the front of the cabin are the touchscreen system as well as the steering. The steering is a two-spoke unit with these scroll wheels for the volume control as well as this one to control the black and white MID in the instrument cluster. The two-spoke design lends a nice premium feel to it with a nice chrome surround here. The touchscreen is a 10-inch unit and gets Apple CarPlay, Android Auto as well as Bluetooth connectivity and USB Type-C ports. Skoda has also included the My Skoda Connect app, which has a host of connected features that comprise services, security as well as driving assessment. Overall, it's actually quite a nice place to be in. The seats have this nice pattern and in the top spec variant are ventilated, though to be honest, the seat ventilation mechanism does tend to get noisy at times. The rear seats of the Skoda Kushaq are actually not a bad place to be in. There's enough space for two to travel in decent comfort and there's acceptable amount of headroom as well as legroom. In terms of features, you get a center armrest with two cup holders, rear AC vents, USB Type-C ports, seat back pockets, door pockets for 1 liter bottles, as well as this little cutout where you can actually place your cell phone. Now, in trying to provide additional space inside the cabin, Skoda has lowered the floor and scooped out the roof, but this has created a bit of a unique issue related to ingress and egress. The door sill is higher than the floor, which means that you have to lift your legs just a little bit more higher to get in and out, something like this. We have measured the Kushaq in detail across both rows, and here is how it stands up to the competition in terms of measured dimensions. The boot at 385 litres with the second row up is quite decent, though the loading lip is high due to the way the car is designed. We would advise a sill protector, as this is definitely going to be a space where people will rest heavy bags before loading them into the boot. With the rear seats folded up, the boot space expands to 1405 litres. This top spec style trim that we have reviewed gets automatic climate control, ventilated seats, touchscreen infotainment system with 10-inch display, rear AC vents, sunroof, LED headlamps with DRLs, tire pressure monitoring system and a stability program. On the safety front, you get dual front airbags and ABS with EBD as standard across the range, while this top spec variant gets 6 airbags. Now, while Skoda has not skimped on any of the segment standard items, there are 1 or 2 feel-good items missing. There's no digital instrument cluster with color MID, the sunroof gets a manual blind control, there's no powered driver's seat, and of course the quality of interiors is a mixed bag, especially when you compare it to the competition. The face of the Skoda Kushaq is unique in the segment, yet when you look at it, you know it's from the Skoda family. Highlights here include the Skoda grille with the chrome surround, large dollops of chrome all around, just slight bulge on the hood to give that hint of sportiness, and these headlamps which are LED units and have crystalline elements which Skoda says pays tribute to the glass industry of the Czech Republic. It's in profile view that you notice the compactness of the Kushaq. It's actually one of the smallest cars in the segment, but is not too far away from its rivals. Highlights here include this large chrome strip under the glass house, the strong shoulder line near the door handles, these chrome inserts in the door handles, the Skoda badging in front, and these unique design for the alloy wheels, which are 17-inch units and only available with the style variant. The rear of the Skoda Kushaq, like the front, is unique to the segment, but when you look at it, you know it's from the Skoda family. Some highlights here include the shape of these wraparound tail lamps with these crystal inserts, the shape of this glass area, the roof spoiler, this chrome strip, the word Kushaq written there. It's also when you look at the rear of the Kushaq that you notice its low stance, giving it more of a coupe feel than an outright SUV. It's been a long and rainy day that we spent driving the Skoda Kushaq, and the wet weathers made that just a little more fun. Well, here's what we found out. The 1-litre TSI engine with the 6-speed manual, while not being particularly efficient, does give the Kushaq sufficient punch to fight in a class above its own. What's more, the Kushaq misses out on some crucial feel-good features, is smaller than most of its rivals, and doesn't have a diesel engine option, but comes back on its own thanks to some excellent low-speed and high-speed driving dynamics as well as ride quality. Skodas, with their range of sedans, have always been known to be fun to drive cars, and now you get that with an SUV body style. The Skoda Kushaq is a rival for the likes of the Hyundai Creta, Kia Seltos, Renault Duster and the Nissan Kicks. The Skoda Kushaq range comprises 3 trims: Active, Ambition and Style, which is what we have driven today. Prices start from Rs 10.50 lakh to Rs 17.50 lakh ex-showroom Delhi. Do leave your thoughts about the Skoda Kushaq 1-litre TSI with the 6-speed manual in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the CarWale YouTube channel. For all the details on the Skoda Kushaq, do visit our website carwale.com. Thank you for watching. Do take care.